Oh, hello, yes. Well, suddenly it is Friday. It's been a bit of a week, one way or another, dealing with humanity. Same for the news, really. Yes, there's been all the usual stuff that happens in politics, whereby being this earnest, mother of parliaments, democracy, and all that, of course, we have to watch with our noses pressed up against the glass whilst the very important people get on with the important business of being important very much. Yes. Now, Starmer. Yeah, those of us on the left who used to be involved in the Labour Party when it wasn't Starmer knew full well that it was going to be a car crash under him. But we didn't think it'd be quite this much of a multi-lane pile-up one way or another. It's really quite astounding that he is such a lame duck Prime Minister a year in. But there you go. The rise, if you like, in inverted commas, of Andy Burnham is very much reminding me of events of 10 years ago when Jeremy Corbyn became leader, because I remember very, very well the leadership candidates like Kendall and Yvette Cooper and him and Andy Burnham, who, after the sort of trouncing that Ed Miliband got, they all sort of rocked up and they all had exactly the same message, which was that they needed to abandon yet more socialist principles and just go for, well, more austerity, because that was definitely what was needed. Definitely needed a lot more austerity and a lot more listening to business. That was their key phrase. We mustn't listen to business. We need to listen to business more, listen to business more, and listen to business more. And then, unfortunately, of course, the insurgent Jeremy came along and upset that particular apple cart for quite a few years. Still, never mind, the adults were back in charge of the room, and now we have, Keir Starmer and Morgan McSweeney, who I don't really know realistically how very much longer they're going to last. But you can see all of this sort of, just desperate sort of infighting that they're doing. Now, Andy Burnham is going to find it quite a hill to climb in order to become leader of the Labour Party one way or another. So I don't actually necessarily think that unless somebody can find him a seat somewhere very, very quickly, that that's going to be a thing. But the problem with all of this is, of course, that we are shut out. Even those people that are still, one way or another, members of the Labour Party will have very little to say in exactly who would become the next leader. And of course, we do have a Prime Minister, and it's all looking a bit kind of Liz Truss at the moment. Speaking of which, we do have the whole shambolicness of shambles that is your party, also indulging in just briefing the press against each other. It's almost like a knee-jerk reaction. It's become a muscle memory amongst these people. What it really needs, as I think a lot of people are starting to realise, is just basically trying desperately to do away with whatever the remnants of the Labour Party are. It should just be allowed to just go off into the distance and, someone can chuck on a torch and it can just burn into the night and leave nothing behind. A sort of Viking funeral would probably be the way forwards with it, because so much of our politics is basically tainted with the recent past. You can see this with reform. I think, taking on board all of these Tories will seriously become a liability for them, because they will just take on board anybody. You can see it with Andrea Jenkins and Nads and some of the others, and they're not really exactly getting the creme de la creme. Not that there was exactly very much cream on that particular skim milk that was the last Tory administration, but nevertheless they will try to persuade people that maybe trying to instigate a kind of uber Liz Truss or uber neoliberalism will actually work, in very much the same way as the Labour Party seem to think that the only way that they can possibly deal with the rise of reform is to look more right-wing, which is why, Keir Starmer stands in front of a flag the whole time, because nothing says patriot like somebody that stands in front of a flag. Anyway, yes, maybe not the best example I could use. But in many ways, I think it just needs to be a pox on all of their houses. I would be the sort of target audience for becoming a member of your party, but I don't really think I can be bothered anymore, to be quite honest. I'm very much more excited by the sort of radical notions of democracy and inclusion that someone like Roger Hallam is coming out with. But that's just me drifting into anarchism as I get older. Anyway, if you think that you really want Andy Burnham, then you go ahead with it. But the guy is as malleable and as much a victim of Labour groupthink as everybody else, one way or another. You might like him as the mayor of Yorkshire in the same way as you might vaguely like Sadiq Khan being the mayor of London. But let's face it, we only kind of like them because, well, they're not Tories. That's about as far as it goes. Anyway, we will see. Perhaps, someone will come back with a sensible policy like scrapping the 2-child benefit cap and actually nationalising something, and maybe, I don't know, actually building something for a change, and maybe actually getting rid of fiscal rules and actually introducing something that might look, well, I don't know, just vaguely like the sorts of things that we really wanted under Jeremy Corbyn. But it won't realistically be allowed to happen because the stitch-ups from above and all of the little infighting, little narcissistic egomaniacs that there are always that manage to rise to the top of the pile in these type of organisations just won't let that happen. Meanwhile, the rest of us will try desperately to get on with, well, Friday, if nothing else. Anyway, do have a glorious day. Do enjoy the sunshine whilst it lasts. After all, there's definitely some cold weather coming. Do have a good one.